Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Pisgah Podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Drew, that's Mangler, and you're listening to Pisgah. We're coming to you live from the patio at El Ranchero.
I think I'm 3 baskets deep of chips and salsa right now.
We should probably get some guac for the table, right? So, news and bullet points for this week. This past weekend, we had the World Cup downhill in Leogang. And we had some Western North Carolina regional folks. Had Dakota Norton in 9th place. Lucas Shaw came in at 26th. In the junior men's category, we had Mr. Chris Grice coming in at 7th place.
Nico, well, it looks like he had a mechanical and didn't qualify, so that's definitely a bummer to hear.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but qualifying times are super tight. I just pulled up the list right here. And if you look at, say, let's look at 26th place through 51st place, we're talking about 4 seconds. So
wow.
They were super tight all day, and, it's hard to say where you're going to fall in slots that tight, especially in the conditions that they had to qualify in.
Yeah, that's true. The conditions were pretty spicy.
But, at least it came back around for race day.
Yes, exactly. Well, speaking of qualifying times, how were your activities over this past week?
I did stay off of wet trail. I'm still a little bit timid with my shoulder injury, but I did get in and on the dirty river on Sunday and did a float and paddle with my wife and a pal of mine, and it was cool. It was a fun day. We got out in kind of later in the day, so it wasn't as crowded, and my shoulder let me know that it was happy I used it. It's still telling me right now.
Yeah, we definitely had some heavy rain showers over the weekend, especially down my way Saturday evening. But surprisingly enough, Canuga was riding really good Sunday afternoon. I went and met up with Christian Jackson and his family, did a couple of laps, and then also did some hiking this week. I've been trying to ride a little bit every day, maybe not big rides, but just keeping the legs going.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Well, let's get right into this week's interview.
Yeah, for this week, we've got John Murphy with Gulo Composites. Gulo is a carbon fiber composite wheel company based down in Brevard. And I sat down with John this week to catch up and get the lowdown on some fancy carbon wheels.
Probably start hammering in bearings as soon as you start recording.
Yep, we'll work around it.
You're in the wheelhouse, so, just adds its effect.
John, dude, it's been a minute since we've hung out, so good to see you.
You too, Mango. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, so thanks for doing this. Your career has kind of made a big transition. Kind of introduce yourself to our listeners and give us a little background on John Murphy.
Hi, I'm John Murphy. I've been a professional bike racer for most of my life, actually. I'm professional for about 15 years, and I've been racing bikes for most of my life. I started racing when I was 12, and now I'm 36. So I don't want to do the math on that, but yeah, I've been riding bikes for a long time. I started off racing as a junior when I was 12, mountain biking. So my first love in cycling was mountain biking.
Yeah.
And when I was 18, I kind of transitioned over to road due to support, sponsors. It was a tough market on the mountain bike side to get any help.
Yeah, so you were 18, this was 2002-ish?
Yeah, something about that.
Yeah.
So 2002, 2003. I had been training on the road a little bit, so I had gotten a road bike, and I had done a little bit of road racing, enough like Cat 5, Cat 4, Cat 3, Cat 2. So I was like a Cat 2 on the road, just to fill in gaps in race schedule. I would do some road racing, and I was a mountain biker, so as a road racer now, looking back how I was just like a bull. I had motor and no tactics, so whatever I did, I just was always off the front solo and just beating myself up.
Yeah. When did you kind of make the switch to like the Cat 1 Pro stuff?
2003. I was the year that I basically moved from mountain to road, focused on the road. As a Cat 2, I got picked up on Crystals, which is a road team in Chattanooga, Tennessee. A good friend of mine kind of referred me to that group, that team. They had a mountain bike and a road team, but they only had a spot open on the road side. So
So that kind of made it a little easier to make that decision.
Yeah, I didn't get to make a decision. It was that or I would, stop.
Yeah.
Because, I wasn't going to be supported by my parents anymore as a racer because, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
But so I wound up joining the team and racing on the road and going from a Cat 2 to a 1 pretty quick because it was a good team. I had good support, and I was able to, get those results and those points. You had to collect points all year. And then my main goal was to get the attention of the national team, under 23 national team, and go try to race in Belgium with those guys. I was friends with Saul Raisin, who is another Georgia boy, and he was already racing on the national team. So he kind of helped assist me with the directors and the managers over there to get me over there. I finally got an invite to go over there the spring of 2004.
Okay.
That same year, I kind of had a weird pro contract with Jittery Joe's. I was technically on the pro team, but I had an amateur team that was considered like a grassroots development team, like kind of a feeder team that I raced for 90% of the time. So I was able to race all year, and then make little jump ups with Jittery Joe's. So I did Tour of Georgia. I did a couple other smaller crits. I did the pro crit. Did some pretty cool races with them too. So it was a really good opportunity for me as I was 20 years old and getting to race some pretty cool, huge events in the U.S.
Yeah, and you weren't just sticking to a season. You had just all year nothing but bikes.
Yeah. Yep. It was just every race I could find, I was going and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun. Prize money was good, and I was able to kind of almost consider living off of it. And then the next year, I went full time with the national team, and so national team 2005, national team 2006. They always recommended us to not join a pro team or a continental team because the type of races that we could get into in Europe were not as available. Because if you have a contract, that's what they call with contract, then you are excluded from a lot of the smaller level races that you, as a younger rider, you want to be able to do.
Oh.
I don't know if that's the same anymore, but that's how it was, in the early 2000s.
So there's some strategy to making your ranks up through pro cycling,
especially going over to Europe as an under 23. And like I said, I don't know if that's the same anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would recommend doing the same to any young riders. I think I might have. I learned a lot racing in Europe, but I learned a lot racing on the, smaller domestic pro teams that I was on as well. So there's advantages to both sides. In the end, I think I probably would have just maybe sign for a U.S. team that would take me to some big U.S. races, so I could have had that learning how to win races a little more. Whereas when you go to race in Europe, you just learn how to survive. So I don't know. I don't know if it was the right path or not, but I didn't sign my first professional contract till 2007.
Okay.
And that's when I aged out of under 23, so I was free to sign a contract, sort of.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was okay, I'm gonna go race for a team in the U.S., which I was lucky enough to get on HealthNet, which was a big team at the time as a development rider. And, I got to be teammates with Tim Johnson, Carl Menzies, Roy Sutherland, a bunch of, hitters that I respected and was really psyched to just learn from. And, that kind of impacted my career in a big way because they're good guys. We had a lot of fun. And I was like, oh, yeah, if we can actually, make a decent living doing this is awesome. This could be a lot of fun. And it was a big team. A lot of guys were getting paid decent money. So I was I will earn into this. Let's do it.
Right on.
So that was sort of my first year. And then I kind of just, never let up till last year.
Yeah. So talk to me about, hanging it up, so to speak.
Yeah. COVID kind of made it easy because everything got
canceled.
Screwy. Yeah. Everything got canceled and all the uncertainty, especially for us. I trained hard all winter, was ready for what in my head could possibly potentially be my last year racing. I was at the end of my contract, and I've got 2 kids at home. I like being home. Traveling to Europe multiple times a year. It gets harder and harder as you get older.
Yeah.
Not that the actual travel is hard, but just time being away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it just seems like the older you get, naturally it just starts to wear on you.
Yeah.
Even though you have fun, it's still it's just not easy to spend your life in a suitcase in a hotel room.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I was already in my head thinking I would make one last good year and then probably stop. and then COVID hit, and it was like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, you can't come back from that. I wasn't gonna be able to come back from that, and instantly I knew, like, the difference in being at home with kids where we had no more help. We had no. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I didn't enjoy my time with my kids. You know, no babysitters, no childcare, or all that got shut down, right? As soon as COVID hit. So, you know, when you're home with kids and there's no help, it's not like you can spend all your time training. Whereas I know a lot of my teammates and competitors were like, they just went balls to the walls training.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at least in the U.S., you could be outside. I know there are some countries that wouldn't let you go outside, Spain, other places. But, you know, here, I know a lot of people got to spend a lot more time on their bike. But for me, it was like the exact opposite because I was, you know, taking care of the kids. And my wife, Allie, was working a ton. So it just made sense to, you know, essentially call it a career.
How do you feel about your last year on the bike?
Well, we can't count last year, right? So then it'd be
2019, like your last year on the bike is...
Yeah, it was not a great year performance-wise. And there were a lot of factors. Like, we, you know, with rally cycling, we were racing in Europe, and it was almost exclusively in Europe. I think the only race we did in the U.S. was Nationals.
Okay.
So I didn't do California. The racing in Europe is just, I mean, everybody talks about how hard it is. It's crazy, ridiculously hard. And as a sprinter, it's even harder because so few races actually end up in a field sprint. I mean, there's a lot of sprints, right? But you see them when there's like a 40-person group. At the end, that is tiny. That's a reduced group. And for me, I wasn't making those groups. So, you know, in my head, I always should be. So it was hard mentally to be, you know, getting dropped or, you know, just barely not making it.
Yeah.
And therefore not being able to do my job as a sprinter and win races. So it was mentally tough. And that kind of helped, you know, fuel my, okay, maybe this is my time. Because if I can't be competitive and win, that's the only reason why I do it. Like, I just love to win.
Yeah.
So as soon as that was kind of like looking more and more bleak as the year went on and I wasn't winning, I was like, I mean, also if I can help the team win, that's another thing too. But if I'm not there to do a lead out or help in the finish, then yeah, I was just like, why am I spending my life not winning? So
what do you feel like your golden year was?
2017.
That's what I was gonna say. I was thinking like 16 or 17 was kind of your golden year because.
So it was like, I would say my best years of my racing career was 15, 16, 17.
What year did you win Twilight?
17.
17. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and 18.
Oh, you did.
Got it. I won it 2 in a row, which was amazing.
Has anyone done that?
Holloway might have. Daniel Holloway may have.
Okay.
I don't know if he won it 2 in a row or not. But yeah, so 15, 16, 17 were, I think, on paper, my best years. Also, in conjunction, is when we had Allie's Bar going.
Yep.
So I had the best nutrition on the bike in training.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can't help but correlate it all to my diet and what I was eating while I was racing and training. So it just, like, I just could never get back to that same level, and I think that was why I was doing all the same work.
100% alley bars.
I think that was a big part of it. I mean, there was just such good fuel.
Yeah.
You know, it's when you take a big key element like that out, and because we shut it down at the end of 2017, you know, there was nothing else. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of products that I was able to, like, my fuel just was a little bit sacrificed after that. 17 was my best year, and it was funny because I didn't ride all winter.
Really?
I kind of went against the I kind of broke all the rules, and I was focusing on Allie's Bar, trying to really grow it as a company, because that's what I saw as my future. Yeah. And I put all my eggs in that basket, and there was a moment where I even, like, almost, you know, gave up my spot on Hincapie because I was like, you know, if I'm not training, what good am I going to be?
Yeah. Let's take it back. Tell us about Alley Bars.
My wife, Allie, is a very good cook, right? So she loves to create in the kitchen. And to make a long story short, she started making us ride food because she was also a professional cyclist. So she started making the ride food because she didn't love, you know, the options that were out there. The options that we had. Yeah, exactly. So she started making them by hand in our kitchen, and they were amazing. They were so good that I never hardly got a hold of very many of them because she was always giving them to her friends. And if you know Allie, you know she's always handing them out. And so she took them to her training camps. Everybody loved them. We had some support from people we knew that wanted to help invest and grow the company. So we were able to kind of, like, move maybe a little bit too quickly into manufacturing, and we were able to produce that, enough bars I was able to eat them at that point. And the talk about manufacturing and the whole process of like lining all that up is a whole other podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There was the Alley's Bar story is definitely, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
So we winded up shutting it down at the end of 2017 because of we had issues on the manufacturing side with quality control, and we couldn't overcome it.
Yeah.
Not without wasting a ton more money. So it was heartbreaking, but sometimes you just have to make the right choice.
I think I nursed an expired box of Alley's Bar for as long as I could after you guys stopped making them.
And they were probably just fine for a long time after the expiration because dates are a natural preservative.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's what Allie told me. She's like, just keep eating them, dude. Like,
and as long as they don't get hot, right? That's like the big thing. And the packaging stays intact.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big learning facts I have is that you have to put an expiration date on stuff, even if it's going to last much longer. So
yeah.
And the longer you make your expiration date, the more expensive your testing costs. So it's like essentially you just put a 12-month stamp on it because that's all really it should go for. That's all you needed to go for.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, it could probably go maybe 24 or 48 months.
Yeah.
Who knows? But why would you test that far if you don't need to?
Yeah.
So anyways, they're probably still fine. But so it was just, that was the biggest determining factor for me, I think.
Yeah.
Was the nutrition on the bike.
Because like so many people like don't value the nutrition that you need to get when you're on a bike, and when it's someone like your wife Allie who understands exactly, and she basically made bars to cater to you guys, and especially you specifically, she knew your diet, she knew what worked, and she made a kick-ass bar. And you won races with it.
And she was tired of me going out for 4 and 5, 6 hour rides and only eating like a few bars because if you don't really want to eat it, chances are you won't.
Yeah. And
that was the difference with what we were doing, is that I actually really wanted to eat the Alley's Bar. I mean, it was almost a habit I got into where I'd roll out the door and just immediately open one up. I mean, it's like, what? You don't? Why would
you need this
who
yet?
Eats a bar right away?
Yeah.
But that's what I was doing, and then it was just like I had endless energy, and the good kind of energy. So we learned a lot, and I have a lot to credit to our Alley's Bar experience for sure, especially in the racing because, not many other teams had Alley's Bar. So I think that was my leg up.
Absolutely. All right, so Alley Bar shuts down in 2017. Direct reflection kind of on your results and your riding experience. Then COVID hits. You spend a year home, just straight up rocking family life and enjoying it. And then now you and I are sitting in the wheelhouse of Gulo Composites. How did you end up here?
Yeah, so during COVID, the COVID madness, let's call it, Allie was even busier than she was pre-COVID, not necessarily because of COVID, but because of the person that she is. She's just a crusher.
Yeah.
Like, she can't say no. She can't say no to work. Like she loves to work. I mean, it's like she kills it. So her employer is Koya, and they make plant powders.
Yeah.
It started with kale and spinach, and I think kale, spinach, and raspberry were their main flavors in the beginning. And now they've got over a dozen. They've got like dragon fruit, mango, banana, celery. They just launched a cucumber powder, which is incredible.
Okay.
And it's all, really, really great tasting, really fine powders. Like, it's not the clumpy stuff you see in the stores sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's all single ingredient tubs. And she runs all their Google ads and does all their paid search and their website, like, SEO type work and their social media. So when she was learning and doing all of her Google ads classes, I was like, that's going to be a winner.
Yeah.
I'm like, keep it up. That's great. And she would constantly, fill me in on what she's learning. And one thing I kept saying over and over again is that makes sense. That's totally logical. Like, I understand that. These tactics are like pretty straightforward. Like, this is a great career path for you to like, or not necessarily a career path because her career is with Koya, but it's a great, way for her to position herself and be valuable if she ever needs to find a new job. So I started learning too over COVID. I started taking Google Ads classes at home. While I was riding the trainer, I would be either mostly watching online classes and just soaking up as much as I could, being able to like kind of not help her, but she could like guide me through what she was doing.
Yeah.
I could like kind of firsthand see how she could create like, a good ad spend and a good return on ad spend, and like, where it mattered and where it didn't, and what worked and what didn't. And so, yeah, I was like, I would love to just to go deep into that. That sounds like a great future, especially like working from home. Like COVID made our family realize how awesome working remote is.
Yeah.
Because then, you can keep doing it when things shut down.
Yeah.
So I started learning a lot about Google Ads and Facebook ads, and working with Allie and her stuff. And we started to like, by the last quarter of the year, we started to kind of talk to potential clients that I could help with their digital marketing, paid search, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Google Ads mostly, and Facebook ads, Instagram ads. And I had the opportunity, got introduction with Gulo Composites through a good friend, John Corey. And, I thought it was going to be maybe just kind of like an ads account where we'd help them with their ads, but really what they needed was someone to kind of manage the whole brand. And I was able to kind of get what is a dream opportunity for me to become the brand manager for Gulo Composites. They're specializing in carbon wheels, and most notably G1 composite spoke. And they were making when I was like, starting to talk to David and the crew over at Kier Manufacturing, who is the parent company of Gulo. We make the spoke in-house. So they're actually producing the spokes just down the road.
Oh.
And that's what makes our wheels so different than all the other carbon race wheels or high-end wheel out there, is that we've got a unique blend of composites that nobody else has. And that's why our spokes can actually be way stronger than stainless steel spokes and almost half the weight.
That's a big difference.
And the ride quality is like, it's crazy. Like you don't even like, obviously the weight and the strength is huge. Lateral stiffness is critical, but the compliance that you feel when you ride over rough roads is I never felt a wheel like that before. And it's really fun to kind of help build a brand like Gulo with a product like Gulo, because it's a winner. In my experience on the bike, it's really fun to be able to like, take a set of wheels out and test them as my job, right? Kind of feels like a bit of pro cycling going on, but I could do a lot more computer work now.
Did you do much product testing or anything like that prior when you were a pro cyclist?
Yeah, I did not do too much prototype testing, but we did a lot of feedback, and we were always, giving feedback forms and trying to get a lot of tire testing. I had a good relationship with Maxxis Tires, and we gave them a lot of feedback. And a lot of the other like wheel companies and frame companies, like they're not changing their stuff that much every year if you think about it. So our feedback might not have been looking for it that in depth. I mean, I think every company is always trying to get the feedback, but like I've seen it so many times where, by the end of my career, I've been racing for, over a decade, and I would race on a lot of the same components, right? Like each team has different sponsors, but sometimes they line up.
They overlap, yeah.
And you see the same, like we could tell company A, hey, you've got to work on this. This is an issue. Like, can you fix this? Because for whatever reason, it wasn't good for us as racers. And then 5 years later, the same exact problem. So you could just see the bigger companies, like when there's a known issue and they're just like, well, we'll just handle it on a case by case basis, I guess. So it's nice to be on this side of it where, if our sponsored athletes bring us problems, I can actually like push to fix it and innovate and make it better. So it's really fun. Like I'm really excited to continue to grow this brand.
Yeah, from you being on their side and knowing what you needed as a rider, and now you're on the company side knowing what riders need. I can see that being very beneficial for the riders and the brand.
Yeah, and also like I because I was on the rider side for so long, I think it's a little bit easier for me to kind of like lean on our ambassadors to kind of create the right kind of content for us, because I also know what they're capable of doing. And, like my ambassador program is pretty tight. Like I know them all really well and have a good relationship with everybody. We've had 2 ambassadors in the wheelhouse today. Not that their wheels are always needing service, but we're always here to like keep them tuned and make sure they're rolling as smooth as possible.
Oh yeah, for sure. So talk to me about the wheels. Got a good looking hub. You've got some badass looking spokes and a good looking rim. So talk to me about how the wheel's built up.
Yeah, so our wheel systems, it's important to note that our spokes are designed for our hubs and our rims. Custom design, custom rim, custom hub. We're not making spokes for other hubs or other rims. So it's a system with our spoke. So we don't sell the spokes, right? So that's we can be clear about that at this point. Our rims and hubs are custom built for the most straight. The spokes are basically like as straight as possible from the rim to the hub. There's no real bend to them. They're like perfectly straight, and that helps add strength. There's a 2 mil offset on most of our wheel sets from spoke to spoke, and each spoke weighs about 2.9 grams. So our wheel sets typically come in at about 12 to 1,300 grams, which is among the lightest wheels on the market.
That's pretty impressive. Looking at the wheel here, this is a front wheel that I'm messing with.
Yep, you're looking at a GRD 46.
Okay. I see threading into the hub, but it also looks like I may see threading into the rim.
Yep. So our spoke ferrules thread into the hub, and we Loctite those on.
Okay.
And then we have an actual nipple that's in the rim, so it's an internal nipple.
Okay.
And that's the gold ferrule you see. It acts as imagine like a bladed spoke. So you hold that ferrule still, and then come out with a nipple wrench through the rim.
Okay.
And tighten the spoke that way, or tighten the nipple that way.
Yeah. Nice.
Super easy to service. Any shop or dealer can do it. We just try to make sure we don't confuse the ferrule as a nipple. And if you were to try to turn the ferrule, it would compromise a spoke, because you would never want to put that kind of tension on a carbon spoke.
So that's probably what a lot of people assume when they see this, is that there's some twisting of the carbon spoke, but that is incorrect.
Right.
The twisting comes from the rim side onto the internal nipple.
Yep. And it gives a clean look, because you don't see the nipple.
Yeah.
And that's a 21 mil internal rim width, which is on the wider side for road wheels for sure.
Yeah.
It is hooked. It's a hooked rim, so you can run high pressure with that. You'll see on our mountain bike side, they're hookless, and they get wider, obviously, on the mountain bike.
Yeah. So talk to me about what are some of the specs on your mountain bike wheels.
Yeah, so we have 3 different models of mountain bike wheels. We've got to put it simply, we've got a cross country, a down country, and an enduro wheel set. The cross country wheels, they all use the same hub. Cross country wheels is 25 mil internal rim width, ultralight rim. Those weigh under 1,300 grams for those. About 1,290, I believe, is what they weigh in at. The down country is just a bit beefier, wider rim, 27 mil. It's a GMD 27. And then we have an enduro, which is a 30 mil internal rim width. GME 30 is what we name those. They ride great. There's a lot going on a mountain bike in terms of suspension, big tires. So it's a different animal than to actually feel the spokes. You get all the benefit from it, but mountain bikes there's a lot going on. So it's a harder control to test. Hardtails really feel a difference.
Okay.
Because you get that, you're getting the vibration absorption on your full suspension or your enduro bike, and you're getting all the benefits of the stiffer spoke. It's harder on the mountain bike side to really to get that wow effect that when you put these wheels on a gravel bike, you can feel it right away with the rigid. The tires you run lower pressure, but there's no shocks. They're just smaller tires, so really the vibration absorption is much more magnified.
Yeah. So how is it developing a new product in Pisgah National Forest?
It's really easy for us to test, because we can go out and ride Pilot Rock or Bennett or all these awesome trails we have, and we're able to put this stuff to the ultimate test. If it can survive here, it can survive anywhere. And it's also nice that we don't have to travel to great lengths to kind of get out there and beat these things up.
Yeah.
It's really, really awesome to be able to take a product like we have and go out there and these super light carbon spokes that you would probably not typically see out in Pisgah, because most people just want to go out there and jump big rocks and kind of go big.
Yeah.
So it's cool to take a wheel like this out there and actually see them like not just ride so much more efficiently because they're so much lighter, and we have big climbs. Like if you want to go ride Pilot, you got to climb Laurel Mountain.
Yeah.
And so any advantage we can get to the fun part is huge, right?
Of course.
You can't ride an e-bike really out there.
No.
So this is kind of like a little bit of your way to like get up there with a little less energy. Not just that we get to test on these trails here, but that we get to take these wheels out and actually have fun on them.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine a better job in this area,
Yeah.
especially as calling myself a mountain biker now. I'm back to being a mountain biker and a gravel rider.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, Pisgah is rough on bikes, especially wheels.
It's rough on spokes too.
And that was my next thing, is Pisgah is especially rough on spokes. And in my experience, what usually happens is I'm going down a trail and basically my tire hits a rock and it flips around and then hits my spoke.
Yep.
That's been my experience of usually how I break spokes, and it's usually like an inch and a half or so up my spoke is usually, like if I go look at my bike right now, I know there's at least 3 spokes that have like good dents in them, or bends in them from rocks hitting them. So originally when I saw the Gulo wheels, like sometime last year or something, whenever you guys, when they first started floating around, some on Tim Haggerty's bike, that was my first concern, was how are these spokes going to handle, because traditionally carbon is not good at taking impacts on sharp objects. So I was like, how are these spokes going to handle like sharp impacts from, rocks flipping up?
Yeah, so we built an impact tower, and what that is dropping this 5-pound weight about 16 inches above the spoke.
Yeah.
So we had fixed the spoke, and when we test our spokes, we put in a G1 composite spoke, and then right next to it we put in a straight gauge stainless steel spoke, and that is one of the main. Before we went to the trail, this was one of the main tests that we were running to really prove this spoke is stronger and lighter than stainless steel spokes. So you can see the G1 spoke can take, I don't know if our listeners want to hear this impact test or not, but essentially one drop of this weight on our G1 spoke, boof, handles it fine, no problem. You drop it on the stainless steel spoke and you can see it's just mangled.
Wow.
I mean, mangler.
Yeah.
Mangler. It's mangled, okay? Like one hit of this weight and it's unusable practically. And our spokes can handle repeated hits like that. So you do actually wind up getting superior impact resistance with our spokes. It blew me away too when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is crazy. Let's see how they ride. And I got on them and rode them, and I was like, oh, we're on something big here.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Not just that they light.
That's everyone's main concern. It's like rocks are going to destroy those spokes.
Yep.
And listening to you tell me about this impact test, I mean, I almost want to go like, do you guys have a video of it?
Yeah, we have it on our YouTube channel.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
That'd
Yep.
be cool to see. Yeah.
We can put a link out there on that.
Yep. I'll definitely put a link on that in the show notes so people can kind of
And
easily.
what is cool is that in all of our testing, even with a spoke failure, which we don't really see them, even with a spoke failure, the wheels still stay straight. So, and they don't typically go like flying around and like wrapping around, like how when you break a spoke, it'll like wrap around it'll like be hitting your seat stay and your chain stay and make all that commotion.
Yeah.
Any issue we've ever had, we have found the broken spoke like after the fact. Like you get home from the ride and you're washing your bike and you find like there's a spoke that's like either if it's detensioned or if it's like broken, there's an issue with it, the wheel's still straight enough to ride.
Oh.
So you can always, it's kind of like a run flat, you can always get off the trail.
Yeah.
So it's like not almost a non-issue.
Okay.
And then we do cover our wheels for lifetime warranty on the spokes, no matter what, unlimited lifetime warranty on the spokes. If there's ever an issue, we fix it for free.
So here's another question that popped into my head this past week while thinking about this is, let's say I'm on the other side of the country and I break a spoke. Mm-hmm. What are my options?
Well, we can. There's multiple options that I would offer you.
Okay.
One, I can send you the spoke.
Okay.
I can get you the spoke and walk you through the process of putting the spoke back in, and that'll get you back going.
Okay.
It's not that hard of there's not that many nuances to building these wheels. You just got to put a little bit of a thread lock on the hub side, and then you just got to get the spoke back up to tension.
Okay.
Anyone that can true a wheel can replace the spoke.
Okay.
Or we can send it to a dealer, whatever your closest dealer, and do the same thing with them, walk them through the process. It's very straightforward. I'd say the third option would be you could send the wheels back to us and we would do it for free.
Okay.
But obviously, if you're on a trip, that's the last thing you really want to deal with. So my first go-to would be to get you the new spoke immediately and have you just be able to either do it yourself or take it to a dealer.
Do you guys include a spoke when you buy a set of wheels?
We can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's one of the toughest hurdles is just kind of if by chance you do have an issue, getting something to you quickly, and then having dealers where they're not ready to, they've never seen our wheels, so
Yeah.
we have to step in and like make sure we can act as fast as possible and kind of keep you happy.
But that's the price of innovation sometimes, is when you're pushing the limits on things, you have to understand that there's going to be challenges in some direction.
Yeah, and on the other side, on the flip side of that is how hard it is to find, so many parts for bikes or even bikes these days right now.
Yeah.
Like how much the supply has been just squeezed, and it's like, just to find, whether it's a cassette or chainring or whatever bike part you
Brake
need.
pads.
I mean, I don't even know. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm not surprised by any kind of shortages now.
How are you guys doing on supply?
I was gonna say we do have wheels in stock.
Okay.
We're in a good position with our manufacturing, and our supply chain has been fine, and we're able to get our hubs and rims, and our spokes are, we're ready to go on spokes. So
You're made right here in town.
we get to capitalize. We're ready to ship. We're shipping every day, and we do free shipping on all of our orders, and we're glad to have a customer who's not stoked with us. We try to always take care of our customers beyond the ordinary customer service, because we know that they're coming into new technology and innovation. And I mean, I don't see it as a risk because I know how good the wheels ride, but if a customer is going to drop a lot of money on wheels and they want to ride the latest and greatest, they're kind of out on the limb, and we're going to make sure they're happy.
If a rider wanted to test or demo a wheel, is that something you guys have as an option?
Yeah. So I kind of do it on a case-by-case basis. I don't have a whole slew of wheels to send out, but if a customer is interested in the wheels and they just want to try them, I'm going to get you on a set of wheels.
Yeah.
That's easy. Like, I get it. Like, you kind of need to ride these wheels to really understand the benefit of the carbon spoke. Otherwise, if all you see is like the weight or, if
you're just looking at the specs, the paper specs.
The paper specs and they look good too. They're attractive. The weight is super light, but really once you ride the wheels and you feel the spokes in action, that's the true selling point. A super light wheel set to me as a big guy. I mean, as a road racer, I was one of the biggest racers. I was always one of the biggest guys on my team. I would just think these things can't handle me. I think 1,200 grams, like there's no way I'm going to sprint on that, right?
Yeah.
But these wheels don't flex nearly as bad as some wheels that weigh, 600 grams more than these. They're stiffer. It's stiffer than stainless steel and laterally. So we talk about like absorbing impacts, but they're also like, you don't get that like rim, I call it like rim sway when you like stand up and the rim's always like kind of moving. It doesn't happen nearly as much as like every other wheel I've ever ridden. So it's a cool feather in my hat because I'm a big guy. Like I'm not like a weight weenie climber who can just ride, whatever's the lightest.
Yeah. You kind of have to like pick and choose your parts.
Yeah. And you can save weight in a lot of places, and you really want to do it with your wheels. That's where you get the biggest bang for your buck, but you also want to be stiff.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have both sides of that. Is our wheels are really, really stiff, but they're also, I mean, in my opinion, like the weight is like kind of secondary because I'm not like my bike can be a half pound heavier and doesn't change, the overall weight that much.
Yeah.
But you really do win with these because it's crazy the difference.
So what's kind of the future hold for Gulo?
Well, our parent companies, they do a lot of composites and ceramics.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got a few ideas in the pipeline about some other composite components that we can make. We've got new gravel wheels in the pipeline as well. We've got 2 new models of gravel wheels that are going to be coming out this summer, kind of in conjunction with our partnership with the Belgian Waffle Ride.
Oh, yeah.
We're sponsoring that at the North Carolina event, the Asheville event. So nice. Gulo will be sponsoring that, and we'll be also hosting a survival camp the whole week before the race, the BWR race on Saturday.
Is it Asheville proper, or is it like...
No, we're outside of Asheville.
Okay.
We're mostly Henderson and Transylvania County.
Yeah.
So it's going to be legit. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy event. So
when you say Transylvania and Henderson County gravel roads, like, that's some saucy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, where you live, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it's always changing.
Yeah.
Right. So
you get one rainstorm, the roads completely change.
Yeah. I mean, the road we ride today is going to be totally different in August.
Yeah.
Because as you know, we're in a temperate rainforest, and
mm-hmm.
We get some rain.
Oh yeah. So what's the best place for people to keep up with what you guys have going on?
So we do have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
So we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, Facebook, our website. We have we're active with our journal. So we do a lot of, we got some trail reviews, a lot of comparisons, a lot of informative posts, and a lot of technology bits. So our website's got a lot of that stuff, and we're refreshing it almost weekly at this point.
Okay, good.
And
I think a lot of companies have kind of overlooked the blog style, keeping revolving content going up on a website. So it's cool to see that still going.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning with the digital marketing side is that creating relevant content is the most important thing your business could do,
mm-hmm.
and understanding that your relevant content from 6 months ago or a year ago might not be relevant this week or next week.
Yeah.
So that's the whole game,
mm-hmm.
is making sure you give your readers, your followers, something that they can engage with and they want to read.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my main objectives with Gulo, is just to kind of like put the fresh content in front of our readers, in front of our customers, and in front of our hopefully prospective customers.
Yeah.
So that's not easy to do. Like it's easy to say, but it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Because you have to stay ahead of everything. But I really love riding bikes, and for me this is kind of a dream job because I get to kind of help build this brand, turn it into the big company that it very well should be.
Yeah. And now you can be Mountain Bike John now.
And now I can go back to my roots. No pun intended. Just not wet roots. I don't need to ride in the rain anymore. I think I've done enough of that.
Oh yeah, I think we all have. Well, dude, awesome. Thanks so much for your time. It's a pleasure hanging out here at the Wheelhouse and catching up with you.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out and wanting to do this. And
mm-hmm.
This is great. I'm stoked.
Awesome.
Wow, it's nice to see another wheel company pushing technology here out in Western North Carolina.
Yeah, of course, we've got Industry 9 doing rad stuff with bike wheels, and I'm not sure if a lot of listeners know this, but Cane Creek used to make wheels.
They did indeed. I've got an old 26-inch set on a beach cruiser that's collecting dust down in my shed, and I've got a set on my fixie that's also been collecting dust for about 11 years down in my shed.
Yeah, you've got a little some Western North Carolina history there, little museum building up in your shed.
You stay here long enough, you'll start collecting parts too.
Yeah. Well, for this week's weather report, the week looks great, sunny, high in the mid-80s. We've got a slight chance of rain coming in on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Hey, good dirt days ahead. We got some moisture in the dirt finally. Aside from that, we got lower temperatures than we're going to see in about a month from now, so enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice to have like these 3 to 6 day windows of dryness and then a little bit of moisture coming in, because once you get past that, some of the trails get a little extra too dry.
Yep, you're right about that.
Well, guys, that is a wrap on this week's episode. And as always, you can find us on the social medias. Just search Pisgah Podcast. And we've still got shirts for sale with $5 going to Pisgah area Sorba. just hit up pisgahpodcast.bigcartel.com.
Right on. And if you can feel a 2 psi difference in a 700 by 45 millimeter gravel bike tire, then click subscribe, share with all your friends, and give us a rating.
I think I have a hard time telling like 10 psi difference in my mountain bike tires.
Well, we're talking about different beasts here, but